reported a total of 51,174 cases of COVID-19 from China. There are now 683 confirmed cases in 23 countries, which include Thailand 34, Japan 53, Republic of Korea 29, Vietnam 16, Singapore 72, Australia 15, Malaysia 22, Cambodia 1, Philippines 3, Nepal 1, Sri Lanka 1, India 3, United States of America 15, Canada 7, France 12, Finland 1, Germany 16, Italy 3 cases, Russian Federation 2, United Kingdom 9, Belgium 1, Spain 2, Sweden 1, United Arab Emirates 8, Egypt 1, and the cases on an international conveyance, that is a cruise liner in Japan, 355. A third death of COVID-19 has been reported outside of China. This individual was a tourist from China visiting France. There are no coronavirus cases in St. Lucia or the Caribbean region. The Department of Health and Wellness reports that the 4 quarantined nationals have all been released from quarantine. They all remain asymptomatic during their period of observation. That is, during the period under which they were monitored, none of the 4 nationals developed any signs and symptoms of the virus. As such, the Department of Health and Wellness, we continue to strengthen our preparedness plans to manage the threat of the coronavirus. In an effort to identify the gaps in our level of preparedness, a review, debriefing of the management of the suspect COVID-19 case, which arrived into St. Lucia on Tuesday the 11th, is scheduled. We continue to ask the public to practice standard recommendations to prevent the spread of any respiratory infection, and these include regular hand washing with soap and water or alcohol-based hand sanitizers, to cover the mouth and with disposable tissues when coughing and sneezing, and to avoid close contact with anyone showing symptoms of respiratory illness as coughing and sneezing. We also ask that persons with respiratory illness that's getting worse to visit your to seek medical attention, visit your medical practitioner, and to share your travel history with your healthcare provider if you have symptoms suggesting.
This is where you come to get away from the problems of real life. But when the problems of real life so acutely intersect with what we do, it becomes very, very difficult to avoid talking about it. Do we want to sit here and talk about a deadly disease that's rampaging around the world right now? No. We'd rather be having the fun that we usually have. We'd rather be talking about sports. But sports and the coronavirus, COVID-19, have certainly intersected. And that's what makes it tough, because sports is always our escape. Sports is where we go to get away from the problems of the real world. Sports is where we have our mind taken off bills and problems and sickness and things like that. But unfortunately, sports can't do that for you right now because sports is smack dab in the middle of this. We said this on the soft open. We'll say it again. About a half hour ago, it was announced that the Seattle Mariners will not open the baseball season at T-Mobile Field, which used to be Safeco Field, a beautiful ballpark in Seattle. They were supposed to open their season on March 26th against the Texas Rangers. That will no longer be played in that field. So Major League Baseball is trying to find out exactly where it will be played. It will not be played in Texas, which would seem to be the easy fix because Texas has a brand new ballpark that will not be ready to be opened at that point. So signs are pointing that the first Major League game for the Texas Rangers and the Seattle Mariners will, in fact, be played at Seattle's spring training home in Arizona. That's just one thing. Tonight, the Golden State Warriors will be playing the Brooklyn Nets.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, I'm sorry. Tomorrow, the Golden State Warriors and the Brooklyn Nets will play in front of empty seats because the coronavirus has certainly taken a stronghold over Northern California, so people are doing their best to keep people safe, to keep this virus from spreading. Yesterday, we told you that the Ivy League has canceled the men's and women's basketball tournaments that
My name is Juliana Chan. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Wild Tide Media Group and a science communicator based in Singapore. We are here today to discuss an unfolding situation, that of a novel coronavirus, the Wuhan virus. It is named because it first appeared in December in a seafood market in Wuhan, the largest city in Hebei province in central China, with a population of 11 million. So it has been compared to SARS, which caused the deaths of nearly 650 people across mainland China. And to date, we have already had more than 570 cases and 17 reported deaths. Just today, a few hours ago, Singapore, where I'm from, announced its first confirmed case. So we have three experts with us today to help us put in context the unfolding situation. On my left, we have Dr. Jeremy Farrar, Director of the Wellcome Trust in the UK. Next, we have Dr. Richard Hatchett, Chief Executive Officer of CEPI, which stands for Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness and Innovations. And finally, we have Mr. Stefan Bancel, Chief Executive Officer of Moderna, a US-based biotech company. So I'll start with trying to understand what we are dealing with right now. And for that, Jeremy and Richard, could you kindly tell us what we know now of the virus and what do we expect to happen next?
Yeah, thanks very much, and thanks to everybody for joining. Just back a little bit, so you can appreciate what I'm going to say. I'm an infectious disease person by background, worked very, very closely with China during the SARS outbreak, and spent 20 years living in Vietnam, but working very closely with many countries in the region. So that's my background of where I come from. This infection, which has come about from the beginning of December, started, as you say, in an animal market in Wuhan, and probably was a virus that was infecting animals, most likely, I think, bats in that market, and it crossed the species barrier and it came into infecting humans who were working or visiting that market. Subsequently, through the month of December and then the early days of January, that infection spread from animal to human, but then most importantly from human to human. And now we are sort of the end of January, so we are about 6 weeks into this outbreak. This virus can now clearly spread between humans. It's spread by the respiratory tract. That means that somebody with symptoms would have a cough, a sore throat, and would pass it to somebody else by coughing or sneezing in the same way that influenza is spread around people. It is